people as they show. One second. Oh, we've already started. Okay, so good evening and welcome to Slippery Rock University's Power of Story speaker series. My name is Keisha Booker and I serve as the Assistant Director for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging at SRU. And on behalf of the office, we welcome you to today's program. So why storytelling is important? Well, stories have a transformative power that allow us to see the world in a different way than we would if we would just encounter it on our own. Stories are an entry point to understanding different experiences of the world. Stories reveal truths, encourage exploration, generate curiosity, and more. They become a connective tissue between time, people, cultures, and experiences. Before we begin, let's first lay out our ground rules for today. We ask that everyone maintain a spirit of active listening. If possible, that you are muted, but your cameras are on until the question and answer portion. When the time comes, speaking from your own experience as opposed to others, using I statements. Do not be afraid to disagree respectfully. Participate by your own choice. Do not invade the stories of others. The goal is to agree, not to agree, but to gain a deeper understanding. If you are willing, speak up, but not over each other, and then be conscious of your body language if you choose to turn your camera on. For anyone who may need closed captioning for tonight, it will be available on the recording, but also is a feature of tonight's Zoom. You can press the closed captioning button. Now to introduce our speaker. Tonight's edition of the Power of Story series is entitled One Life-Changing Decision. This session will be conducted by Joyce Bender. Joyce Bender continues as an international leader in the area of disability employment through her role as CEO at Bender Consulting Services. A person living with disability, epilepsy, and hard of hearing, Joyce founded Bender Consultant Services Incorporated in 1995 after immersing herself in the disability community after a life-threatening accident due to a seizure. Prior to founding Bender Consulting Services, Joyce worked in the executive search industry where she ran her own search firm, Bender and Associates. Joyce is the host of Disability Matters, the longest-running podcast on Voice America. 2023 marks the 20th anniversary of Disability Matters. In 2018, Joyce founded Bender Leadership Academy, a nonprofit focused on preparing youth with disabilities to be successful in the workplace. She speaks across the United States and internationally, representing the State Department on information exchanges related to disability employment and best practices. She has represented the State Department in programming with Panama, South Korea, Indonesia, Japan, Kazakhstan, and Tanzania. Joyce is the current vice chair and past chair of the Board of American Association for People with Disabilities. She is on the board of trustees for the Balzalon Center and current member of Disability Rights Pennsylvania and Epilepsy Association of Western Central Pennsylvania. She is a recipient of the President's Award from President Bill Clinton, and the new Freeman Initiative Award from the Bush administration for her work in advancing competitive employment for people with disabilities. Without further ado, Joyce Bender.
Well, good evening, everyone. It is so nice to be here with you this evening. I'm very familiar with your school, your university, because of where I grew up. And before I tell my story, I just want you to know that if even one of you, listen to me, learn from me, and do something to help a person with a disability, it's going to be so worth me being with you here tonight. So I grew up in a rural area called New Galilee, Pennsylvania. Actually, I had a great childhood, wonderful childhood. And it really taught me that my life, which has been wonderful, starts with your family and your friends and builds that foundation. And of course, my faith, my church. But I grew up in this area. And when I was growing up as a teenager, I would occasionally faint Now, this is going to factor into my story as we move on forward, but I always thought my family thought it was from low blood pressure or something of that nature, but it didn't happen that often. But I grew up, I went to Mohawk High School, graduated from Mohawk, and then I went on to Geneva College. And when I went to Geneva, I majored in psychology. I have a Bachelor of Science in Psychology. Geneva College had a significant impact on my life because it had a Christian orientation and background that fit with my faith. But when I got out of college, when I graduated from Geneva, I also did some substitute teaching before I moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Next slide. So I moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1979, and I worked for an executive search firm, my own executive search firm in information technology. And you remember I told you I had those feints when I was growing up. But when I got into my 20s, I started having them more frequently. And one night my husband found me unconscious. He thought I was having a heart attack, but I wasn't. I came to and I was okay. And of course, we went to the doctor and we told the doctor, hey, I found my wife unconscious and this is happening. What would happen is I get this terrible feeling. And when I would get it, I would know, oh no, that thing is going to happen. That thing where I faint. And then after I would faint, I would vomit profusely. I mean, it was terrible. The same thing would happen every time this thing would happen to me. And guess what the doctor said? He says, oh, that's just some female hormonal problem. She's fine. Your wife's fine. And you're wondering, why would I believe that? Well, I was in my 20s and he was a doctor. So if the doctor tells you you're okay, you believe you're okay. Of course, I know not to do that now, but I believed him back then. And I went on back to work, back to my search firm. And one night in 1985, I went to see the movie Amadeus. And that movie has an intermission. And at the intermission of the film, I went to get a soda and I had a seizure and I hit the floor so hard, I fractured my skull, had an intracranial brain hemorrhage. I broke the bones in my right inner ear. And, that's all I remember. I was in a coma and rushed to the hospital and had life-saving brain surgery. And against all odds, I had this miraculous recovery after having brain surgery. And when I came to an intensive care, guess what? I find out I'm living with epilepsy. Now, before I go any further, who knows what epilepsy is? Does anyone know?
I know very minimal. I know it's a seizure disorder. I know it can be affected by lights, but that's about all that I'm aware of.
Okay. Well, you know more than most people know, Keisha, because epilepsy, 1 in 26 people will have epilepsy in their lifetime, but very few people understand epilepsy. I found out what it was after this happened to me, because after my accident, that's when they tell me you have epilepsy, you're living with epilepsy. And I take medication, which has controlled my epilepsy, my seizures. I still have epilepsy, but I'm not having seizures because of the medication that I take, Lamictal. But people think that when you have epilepsy, you have a grand mal seizure, which I don't. They're all different types of seizures, and that's where the misdiagnosis came forth. This doctor, because I didn't say I have a seizure, I mean, I had a convulsion, did not guess that it was epilepsy. But as you can see, I am a tough cookie because guess what? While I'm doing this whole thing, I have COVID, as I told Keisha. So if you hear me coughing or I seem a little bit off, I did not want to miss doing this because it was so important to me to be able to talk to all of you. But I am recovering from COVID as we're having this presentation. But anyway, back to my story. So I find out now that I have epilepsy and I'm taking my medication. And guess what? I had no idea that the attitudinal barrier toward people with disabilities was so horrific. It was not known that people with disabilities had such an incredible stigma, especially if you have something like epilepsy. But I found out that people with disabilities were not gaining employment. As a matter of fact, in 1986, 90% of people with disabilities were not counted in the workforce. 90%. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that it was so staggering. So I went to this school in Pittsburgh that would train people with disabilities to be COBOL developers. And I went to the school and I met with these students and no one would even interview them. And I made a decision. You know, there's this one person, one decision, and I made the decision. And that decision that I made is that I was going to help people with disabilities gain employment. Now, Leanne, you're on here with me, my chief of staff. Can you share with everyone, how hard is it for people with disabilities to gain employment?
It's very hard. I work as Joyce's chief of staff as well as an account director here at Bender. So I'm talking to current customers and potential customers all the time. And you don't have one conversation. As Joyce and I have talked about many times, you need to call, reach out, explain the services, why it's important to hire someone with a disability, that it's not pity, it's not charity, it's a business reason. And we can reach out. I never give up. That's one of the rules we have. You never give up. Even if last year they said no, we'll call again this year. We'll talk to them again. But you would think, given the skill sets that people with disabilities have, that companies would want them. They still don't hire, even with the great skill sets they have and that they want to work.
So thank you, Liam. When I found out that here were these students trying to find a job, no one would talk to them. Now, this is like only a year after my accident that I find all this out. I said, you know what? I'm going to help these students. So I started doing volunteer work, and I did volunteer work for 9 years, trying to find employment for students from that school. I was determined I was going to do something to help them. And I could not get people to even interview them. See, remember, during this time, I owned a search firm. I was in executive search. So that firm was called Bender and Associates. This other work I did as a volunteer, trying to help these students gain employment. And in 1995, I said, that's it. I'm done. I am going to do this on my own. If no one will help them, I will help them. So in 1995, I founded Bender Consulting Services as a for-profit company that would focus on the competitive employment of people with disabilities. And I started, of course, here in Pittsburgh, and I went to Highmark. This is why I called this one decision. I went to Highmark and I met with the CEO and I said, Bill Lowry, I want to start this company, but I need someone that would stand behind me. I want to start a company to focus on the employment of people with disabilities. Would you agree to bring 6 people on contract and keep them on contract for 6 years? I mean, 6 people for 3 years. I'm sorry. And these would be people with disabilities. And I try to understand, I'm going to the CEO of Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, asking him to bring on contract 6 people with disabilities and keep them for 3 years. And I will pay the salary, I'll pay the benefits, you pay me an hourly rate. So this is the only way I could get started, is if someone would stand behind me. And I'm going to tell you, it only took him 1 day to say yes. 1 day. Now, today I have a national company. I speak around the world. I've found employment for thousands of people with disabilities, but it's because of that one man that believed in me, Bill Lowry. I started in 1995, and in 1999, I received the President's Award at the White House from President Clinton, which is the highest honor given to one American for furthering the employment of people with disabilities. And wow, let me tell you, you grew up in this little, small rural area called Keeley in New Galilee. Never into your wildest dreams do you envision you're going to be at the White House with the President of the United States, walking in with him while the Marine Corps band played Hail to the Chief. Can you imagine that? Let me tell you what, I was so nervous, I almost walked right in front of him. I mean, it's just surreal. It's so hard to explain that it was just overwhelming to me. Then I received an award from the Bush administration a few years later at the Department of Labor, although I worked the most with the Obama administration. Then what happened? I got so involved. I got involved in all these disability rights groups. I became a national disability rights leader. Next slide, Leanne. And then I started to represent the US State Department. This is amazing. If an embassy somewhere in the world says they're looking for an expert on the employment of people with disabilities, they call the State Department. And the State Department has called me and has asked me to go to different countries to talk about the employment of people with disabilities. So I've been to Panama, South Korea, Japan, Kazakhstan, Indonesia. Now, Tunisia and Nigeria, I didn't go there in person. I did those by Zoom, but the other countries, I was there for a week in person. And this October, I'll be going to Brazil for a week speaking, which is, again, such an honor. And every time I'm in one of those countries, I'll think about Bill Lowry. One man, one decision. He never would have believed what was going to happen from saying, yes, Joyce, you can bring on contract 6 students with disabilities and we'll keep them on contract 3 years. That one decision, look what happened. And in your life, you too are going to be that person that is going to get a chance to make one decision that will impact someone's life. And to me, living is also caring about other people and giving back to other people. And my life has been so blessed by so many people, and especially by people with disabilities. I place people with disabilities in jobs like engineering, IT, finance, accounting, all across the United States with major corporations and intelligence agencies and the federal government. And this is the 20th anniversary of my radio show, Disability Matters with Joyce Bender, that is heard around the world. It's on every Tuesday on Voice America from 2 to 3 every week. And it is such an honor for me and so exciting to be on this radio show. This Tuesday, I had Ty Herndon, the country star, on, but I've had this year Temple Grandin and Ted Kennedy Jr. and, many throughout the past 20 years, celebrities, senators. You'll have to check it out. You can go to Spotify and listen to the podcast and hear all the shows that are on demand. But I will tell you, people with disabilities still are not counted in the workforce the way they should be. Still today, 70% of people with disabilities are not counted in the workforce. Why is that? ableism, discrimination, stigma, attitudinal barrier. People think people with disabilities cannot compete and work the way everyone else can, and they can, and they do, and they can perform at a level or higher level. You know, people with disabilities want to work. People with disabilities don't want pity. They want paychecks. They want to be able to provide for their family and live a life just like anyone else does. And this is what I want you to help me with. Remember, I said, if I can get through to one person, if one of you make up your mind to say, you know what, if I know one person with a disability, I am going to help them. I'll refer them to Joyce Bender to find a job, or I myself will be a mentor to them, or I will help, I'll be a friend of theirs, whatever it is. You're making a difference, because so many people with disabilities, especially mental health disabilities, live in isolation and exclusion. And I, in 2018, founded a not-for-profit called the Bender Leadership Academy, where we train high school students with disabilities about the world of work and how to fight bullying. Bullying, oh my God, kids with disabilities are bullied more than any other group in America. Bender Leadership Academy is the not-for-profit that I founded, and that is what one of the big things we work on is fighting bullying and not being ashamed, because, you know, we lose kids to suicide, and one of the big things is nonstop bullying. Now, I'm meaning kids 10 years old. It's terrible. That's why everyone needs to stand up against bullying. And I don't know, at your college, you probably have crusades or groups that do campaigns about bullying. I assume at Slippery Rock, you do something of that nature, but I'll open it up to any questions that you have, but I wanted to ask you first, do you have something at your college about bullying?
I don't know if it's specific to bullying. I think we have a lot of great resources around mental health and the effects that bullying could have on mental health, but we don't necessarily address bullying the same way like a K through 12 setting would.
So there was a girl 10 years old with autism, and she's African American. And when she would go to school, they would call her the N-word. So she told her family, and they tried to do something about it. And they were not successful. So now she's going to school with Febreze. And her mother said, "Why are you taking Febreze?" And she said, "Oh, because they tell me I smell, and I'm going to spray my seat, my desk." As I said, she had autism. And guess what? She took her life. She was 10 years old. So this is why I really want to impress on you. I need all of you to fight the fight for people with disabilities of all ages, for adults, young adults, and older adults to be able to gain employment, but also for young children, for kids in high school. You know, be a friend whenever kids are left out or excluded from social gatherings, from parties. It's really a form of bullying, exclusion. And you've got to reach out, you've got to reach out and include people. Just because they don't look like you and act like you does not mean you shouldn't treat them the way you would want to be treated. And oh my God, these kids are so great in my classes. They're so wonderful. I mean, they are awesome. And I tell them every day when you get up, remember how awesome that you are. And if someone else is bullying you, There's that's their problem, not your problem. And I hope that if you know someone, a young person with a disability, that you do reach out and befriend them. But I'd like to hear from you. What questions do you have?
Joyce, can I just ask you to share with the group? Our heart and soul for Bender is recruitment, but the other services that you developed because you want to get more people hired. Maybe mention some of the other things that we're doing to help in that area.
Of course. What Leanne is referring to is, in addition to employment, we started at a division at Bender Consulting Services called High Test. And what we do is make websites accessible. 98% of websites in the United States are not accessible. And so we go in and we make sure the website's accessible. We do the testing and the digital accessibility for them, work for the companies. Then we have a software product called iDisability. And this is a software training product that we designed. And what it does is it teaches companies how to work with and communicate with people with disabilities. Leanne, do you want to describe that?
Sure. So in order to help train companies in working with people with disabilities, Joyce worked with a partner in developing iDisability. It's an e-learning product that goes on companies' learning management systems. There's 47 modules, and we're growing more and more as we have different topics. But the reason we did 15 minutes or less is because no one has time for the long training classes that we used to have within companies, given the way the businesses are today. So there's things like how to interview a person with a disability, communicating with people with disabilities, emergency preparedness, myths and facts, which is a really big thing. And Joyce might want to touch on some of that as well, of trying to help educate, things you should say or not say. But it's a wide range of different topics. As Joyce shares with different companies, what if you're interviewing someone with autism? Because they don't look directly at you or answer, they might have short answers. A lot of companies in that interview will just ignore and just let it go and say they can't do the job, when in fact they can. They just don't know how to interview someone like that. And in this day and age, because of COVID, interviewing people remotely and doing remote work was a big topic too. How do you interview somebody over the phone or by Zoom? So that changed the whole dynamics as well. But those are things that we teach through this learning management product to help educate managers on how to work with people with disabilities and include them in their workforce.
Yeah, and I want to say again, please forgive me if I seem a little off. I am, because I have COVID, but I hate to agree to something and then not show up. So I still wanted to come and be with you. But I did want to tell you that one thing I learned when I went around the world, like South Korea or Japan, no matter where I was, is that people with disabilities are our brothers and sisters, no matter where they are in the world. Epilepsy is epilepsy here, the way I have it, or in another country. Disabilities are the same. That is true that in those countries, though, they are 50 years behind us, from in the United States. But the one thing that I would say is that I never give up. And if you have a dream, no matter what it is, you should never give up. I am like the embodiment of persistence. I don't give up. I will keep knocking on the door until I get in the door, find a door that I can get in, because I'm in what I do for a living. Remember, these are people that people aren't hiring or aren't wanting to hire because they feel they can't do the job. And there, don't get me wrong, there are companies hiring people, like Highmark is fantastic, and PNC and other companies we work with. So people are getting hired. It's just slow. It's still 70% of people with disabilities not counted in the workforce. The ship is moving, but it's moving very slowly. And I hope, that it's going to start moving more as we go on and get more people advocating for people with disabilities. But it's much better than it was. I mean, when I first started, one of the reasons, well, the reason I received the President's Award is I was the only person in the United States placing people in competitive employment. In other words, when I started in 1995, people with disabilities, if they had jobs, they were jobs like bagger at a grocery store, or stock person, or working at a pizza shop. Now, don't get me wrong, these jobs, all jobs are good for someone, but that shouldn't be the only job. I mean, there should be, other jobs such as accountants or IT, and people with disabilities, they were not getting those jobs, or they were all in sheltered workshops. And so that's not what I did. I said, what, just because you're in a wheelchair, what's that have to do with your ability to be a computer programmer or an accountant? And so that's what I did. That's how I got started. And that's still what we do today. And the other thing about not giving up on people, Leanne, tell them how you know me.
So
Not
before I
only now,
came,
you're my chief of staff, but I mean, how did you originally know me?
sure. So before I came to work for Bender, I worked in corporate America for over 36 years and then retired and came to work for them. And when I worked for the DuPont company and then Computer Sciences Corporation. So back in 1998, my company, Computer Sciences Corporation, located here in Delaware, we reached out to Joyce to say, we want to hire people with disabilities. We don't want to leave anybody out of the workforce. We want the best talent. So you have to include everyone. So we started, the very first positions were, if I remember correctly, Joyce, SAP.
Mhm.
People to start, we had an SAP group we were going to bring on board to start with. And then it started in Delaware, then it went to Texas and DC, all across the US and even into Canada. Because why would I want to leave a group out that have such great talent? So we reached out to Joyce, and I actually was a liaison between the two companies to get people with disabilities hired through that. And that's how we also then met later on to start the Bender Leadership Academy, was through working with Delaware and our students here. So I've had a long history with Bender, was her customer, and then retired and came to work for her. So it's been an awesome career for me.
And Leanne is phenomenal. She is a phenomenal, wonderful person. But I will tell you, in your career, when you get started your career, it's going to be all about relationships. You have to be a person that can build relationships, because that's really what helped me become successful in what I'm doing. And to build relationships with people, you have to have trust. So to have trust, you have to have integrity. And, you have to know it's not all about you. When people believe in you, you can get so much accomplished, but it just won't happen if they can't trust you. Leanne is one of those people that I trusted from the beginning. And that's why when she retired, I was so thrilled to have her working at my company. Best decision that I made. But it is because of her that we started the Bender Leadership Academy, because it started with her in Delaware. I'm in Pittsburgh, but Leanne is based in Delaware. So she's with Delaware University, not Slippery Rock University, right, Leanne? Isn't Delaware, is it called
Yes.
University of Delaware? Is that what it's
University
called?
of Delaware. Yep. everybody, I don't know what your mascot is, but ours is the fighting blue hen. If you can guess what a blue hen is, but that's us, the fighting blue hen. So yes, it's right down the road from me. I have heard of Slippery Rock because I believe when I was at CSC, we might have reached out, Keisha, to Slippery Rock about interviews and things. If I remember, it's been a while, a number of years, but have heard some things about the school. And as we said, Joyce, about Paula having gone there,
Pardon me?
about Paula going to Slippery Rock.
No, Paula didn't go there.
I thought she went there.
No, she went to Point Park.
Oh, Point Park. I'm sorry. My
That's all
apologies,
right.
guys.
No, that's okay, Leanne. I may have been talking about, is Natalie on this? Is she here?
I don't think so. She's
Oh.
not.
Oh, that's too bad. Because she knows me very well because she's related to me. That's why I wondered if she was on. Well, I'll turn it over to you, Keisha. Do you have anyone have any questions?
I am happy to turn it over to the crowd. So we are accepting questions in the chat. You can also raise your hand if you would like to ask a question. I'm interested in what was it like to travel on behalf of the country, and were there any obstacles while you were doing this travel, or did everything just go smoothly?
It's very exciting. It is. My biggest problem was, like, I have a problem with some of the food in the countries, and you don't want to offend people. So of course I would try to, like, just move my fork around a lot if I didn't care for what I was eating. But the people, fantastic. What it's like is you have to realize you're the guest. You're a guest in that country, and every country has their own cultures and, you know, their own way of working together, and you have to be respectful of that. I have found I have relationships still with the people that I met. I mean, I cannot begin to tell you how gracious people were to me, and how, so many people would come to hear me speak. It was unbelievable because they wanted to hear an American talking about employment of people with disabilities, because so many people there are not employed, you know, because there is pervasive shame across Asia. But it was wonderful. The State Department just takes care of everything and plans everything out for you. And I just tell you, I had a wonderful time every country I go to. But I have a question for the students, Keisha. My question is, why do you think companies don't hire people with disabilities? Now, I can't see you, but if I could see you, I'd be calling on you. See, you're lucky I don't have my eyes on you. I like this.
Oh, we have an answer in the chat. So one of the answers provided is stigma with work performance.
That is true. And Ponziani, is that Michaelina, or how do you pronounce your, is that right?
It's Michaelina. You're like the first person that's ever gotten that.
I like you because you gave the exact thing, stigma. It is stigma. People think that people with disabilities cannot work at the same level as other people. What made you say that, or how did you know that?
I work at the Writing Center and I also work at the Tutoring Center. So I'm very used to working with students with disabilities, just because we help students of all backgrounds and just kind of the things they talk about, like going off of like what they've told about their own experiences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, one of the things is they think people with disabilities will not, just what you said, work at the same level as others do. But of course, that's not true, but that certainly does exist. Are there a lot of students with disabilities at Slippery Rock?
Um, Honestly, I can't really answer that question, but I do have like a fair share that do come in for like tutoring help, and especially once they do come in, like they get more comfortable with you. So I do have a lot of repeat students, but I'm not sure about the university as a whole.
I'm
You're
not
not sure?
sure of the statistic just because the only people they really have to disclose to is disability services and their professor where they need an accommodation.
Mhm.
Natalie would definitely know those numbers better, but I would say because of the work of Dr. Burek there and our president's commission on disability issues, there are a healthy number of people who feel comfortable disclosing, who are getting supports and services that they need. So, though I don't know the exact number, I do know it's growing. People are asking for help more and that they are getting better accommodations.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yes, when I became a disability rights leader, so it's unusual. I'm a business person and a disability rights advocate. Uh, it's usually one or the other, but here I am on both, and I'm a person living with disabilities. I'm hard of hearing because when I fell and fractured my skull, I broke the bones in my right inner ear. So I wear a hearing aid. I'm hard of hearing on my right side. But I was the chair of the board of the American Association of People with Disabilities and the national chair of the Epilepsy Foundation. And I'm the chair of the local Epilepsy Association in Pittsburgh. And I'm on the national board of the World Institute on Disability. I am on many boards and have through, my career, been very involved in the disability community. But I have found that the people that have helped the most were people from the African American and LGBTQIA community and other minority groups. And, I feel that's because been there, done that, know what it's like to be discriminated against or treated differently or excluded. And there is great intersectionality. In other words, you could be African American and a woman and have a disability, or you can have epilepsy and be gay and be male. There's intersectionality. That's why, and of course, there's non-apparent disability, such as me. I have a non-apparent disability, as do people with mental health disabilities, like bipolar disorder or depression or post-traumatic stress disorder. Do you have any initiatives at your school for people with mental health disabilities or any programs?
Yes, there are quite a few programs. We have a President's Commission on Mental Health, and so they do work around mm, uh, I would say destigmatizing mental health and celebrating people who tend to get help. We have a fully functioning counseling center on campus. There are multiple student organizations. Then we also have groups. We have a Rock Life program on campus for our students with autism or our autistic students, whichever language is preferred there. And that is a growing program that's well supported. We also have Best Buddies. I'm not 100% sure what they do, but I know it is connected to mental health and those with disabilities. So we have a robust programming around mental health on campus.
Oh, that's wonderful. Because the Bender Leadership Academy, we have a campaign called #NotAshamed that I hope you will all go and send in your video. It will tell you what to do when you go to benderleadership.org. But you will see Ty Herndon, the country star that was just on my radio show. And you will see Brett Huntley, NFL star, Valerie Jarrett, former advisor for President Obama, and many, many other people what we're doing is you make this small video saying, hi, my name's Joyce Bender. I'm the CEO of Bender Consulting Services. I support high school students with mental health disabilities, not ashamed. So that's the hashtag not ashamed campaign going on, where we're having high school students, college students, business people, everyone, either like Ty went on to say, I live with bipolar disorder, not ashamed, because the biggest problem for young people with mental health disabilities is shame. That is the biggest problem, and that's what we're trying to bring down and support young people with mental health disabilities. So that's really good that you have that, what you just said. What other questions do you have, Keisha?
I do want to give others an opportunity. So does anyone have any questions? I'm happy to read it for you or have you unmute yourself.
Come
Okay.
on, you guys, you got to have a question for me. Hey, I'm doing this with COVID because I didn't want to, and you can probably tell because I'm not myself, but I'm here for you. So you got to ask me a question. Don't let me down.
Favorite aspect of any of your jobs?
Mike, Alina, they should give you a star. You know that?
Thank you.
Get A+ star. My favorite aspect of my job is when I get to tell someone that that they're hired. And working with young people. Oh, I love the Bender Leadership Academy, working with young people with disabilities. Mike, Alina, you are like the one coming through for me here.
Listen, I don't want to leave you hanging.
I'm wondering, is there an industry that you find easy to work with? And then in return, is there one that you find challenging to work with?
People and technology are the easiest, the most open to hiring people with disabilities. But I would say that some of the areas, it's really not that one is worse than the other, but ironically, sometimes the hardest door to get through is human resources, which you would think it would not be, but sometimes it is. Just because I think of the control factor, but overall, best to work with is technology. And Leanne, I wanted to ask you, did you have any comments that you wanted to make?
Not specifically, but I did, Joyce, want to mention, you may want to mention about our office, and then being a first Dobie, because those are awesome things. Our office is mostly people with disabilities. That for all the people that are working for Bender, I think is really important to share, as well as being the first Dobie at Disability Inn, if you want to share that.
Yeah, what Leanne's talking about, my company, Bender Consulting Services, Inc., is headquartered in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, actually in Moon Township, Pennsylvania. And my staff, they are people with disabilities. Someone asked me once, what, are you going to hire people with disabilities? I said, no, wait, you think I'm going to go tell other people too, but I'm not. So we have a dynamic team. Oh my God, my employees are so awesome. I have the best employees anyone could ever want. They are fantastic. And they are people with disabilities, which just shows what high performers can do. Disability Inn is a national organization trade organization that companies join, that they're members, and they're major companies like Northrop Grumman or IBM, and they attend and belong. There's a conference once a year that they all go to. The whole purpose is trying to learn how to be more disability friendly at your company and get more people to want to work for you, and how to hire people with disabilities, and keep working on breaking down that stigma we've been talking about. So what they did is they came up with this idea that they would have disability-owned business enterprises across the United States, an entrepreneur with a disability that owned a business, and that you could be certified. And I am proud to say I am the first DOBE, that's what they're called, DOBE. I'm the first certified DOBE in the United States. And now today there are 500. So it's such an honor for me to be the first. So in supplier diversity, they have set-asides where they look for DOBEs for different businesses, different products that they need. And it is, I'm going to get a badge made, first DOBE.
And the only other thing I'll share with the group is Joyce is an amazing person to work for. I had a choice to stay retired, but I chose to come to work for Bender because of the things that we do. She's an amazing person. I do not know how she keeps up with everything. With all these committees, plus all the different things we do with the company. I know I struggle sometimes to keep up with her, but she's an amazing person and does great things for people with disabilities. So if you want to, make sure you look at benderconsult.com, see what we do, and any way that you can help us, or even Bender Leadership Academy. We would love to have you help us in our efforts here.
Yes, please go. Thank you, Leanne. The feeling is mutual. Please go to benderleadership.org and do the little video, 30 seconds on your cell phone, for the Not Ashamed campaign. Go to benderconsult.com, which is the company, Bender Consulting Services, my company. And if you know of anyone with a disability seeking employment, anyone, you must refer them to Bender Consulting. You will find so many opportunities there for people looking for employment. We're always looking for more people that we can help. This is one of my absolute favorite quotes, and I have it on here for a reason. Sometimes you think, but I can't do all of this, but you can do one thing. Remember I said one thing, and that one thing can make a difference. I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. You can't change the world, but to one person, you could be the world. So please, everyone counts. Everyone counts. Everyone is your neighbor. Love your neighbor as yourself. I wish you only the best success, and I promise I will come back when I'm free of COVID, where I'm a little more on target. So this is called Do Your Best with COVID Day. Keisha, back to you.
You've been amazing. So I just want to take the time to thank you on behalf of Slippery Rock and on behalf of those in attendance and those that will watch as we do post this on our website and get many views from our website and our YouTube. And so we really appreciate you and your time. And we really thank you for the wisdom you've shared and the life-changing decisions that you've put forth into the world. We are excited that you were here with us today.
Certainly. You have a great evening.
Thanks.
Bye,
You too.
everyone. Bye-bye.